She hasn't seen her parents since because there's like a way how much was left in the tray, like
This is disruptive, but not the same kind of disruptive as Monday after the clock goes the other direction. Feels worse on Monday morning for many people when the clock gets an hour head start. This supposedly gives us an hour head start on the clock. It's still stressful though to shift everything when there's no change in routine. If it was the end of a quarter or the end of a school year, and then right before the beginning of the school year, and it changed exactly then, it would make probably a very little difference to most people, unless they just watch the clock all the time. But a different quarter could mean your first class is at a different time anyway. And this keeps you in the same routine, only it shifts everything. And it's, whichever direction you go, it's still, even though it feels pleasant to have an extra hour to sleep in, for many people, it still stresses your organism to change its indexing like that. It isn't good for you. So, I hope you were able to sleep an extra hour if you have been sleep deprived so far. I'm a person who does like to sleep in and stay up late at night, but that I haven't been able to afford that lifestyle this time. And so my wife and I woke up abruptly at 4:30 this morning, ready to slay dragons and take on the world. So I didn't get any sleep, but it's strange for me to have been sort of puttering around for an hour extra in the morning. But I hardly started anything, with that extra hour. So I hope that as the week wears on, you'll experience this time frame as less stressful than the first half or more of the term. Let's pray together, and we'll launch into something that I hope is extremely practical for you. Okay? Let's pray. Father in heaven, what we'd like to be able to do and be sometimes overlaps with what you would like us to do and to be. Help us to find that sweet spot in Jesus' name. Yes, ma'am.
So the other day, or yesterday, I was watching this sermon online.
The sermon?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was just a non-denominational church.
Yeah.
And like halfway through he was talking, I realized he was praying, but his eyes were open.
Yes.
And I realized that a lot of people do that. What do you think of that?
Oh, fine. I think that it changes the nature of prayer. I would be reluctant to get rid of praying with my eyes closed ever. But I would say that if we have a habit that restricts prayer to when our eyes are closed, it would make it more difficult for us to live in sort of a prayerful presence during our normal routine. I think it would, that praying on purpose like that, maybe even corporately, would help each person participating to make new neural circuits that don't keep prayer in some sort of a box and keep it out of our head. That, I mean, it seems like it might do that. A counterpoint, if you went to a church where that was shocking and was a scandal, it would be really easy to just hurt people with it when your intention might be to help.
Yeah.
Untold, enthusiastic, creative preachers and youth leaders and the like have wounded people who are not at a place where a lot of that creativity, they're just not ready for it, and they might never be ready for it. They're the wrong kind of people for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to ever be like an ethnic stereotyper, but think about people groups that before jet travel, when you moved, you might have had a pack animal to help you move your junk, but mostly you just picked up and walked, or you moved for centuries. Think about the distribution of temperaments based on latitude on the globe. Subpolar people. Do you think of Eskimos as being really sanguine and just really wearing the lampshade at the party? Aleutians, Mongolians, Norse people, Minnesota Swedes, people that are in those cold climates where if you don't handle your business when the sun is shining, you get serious dead when nothing is growing. They don't play. They don't have a lot of time for a lot of nonsense. And I'm obviously taking on a persona. As you move closer to the equator, think about how much more overtly festive and sanguine and hug everybody and sing loud and fight so the neighbors can hear you and the whole bit that would never work in Finland or in Mongolia or in Siberia. A lot of people have maybe not even limited to cultural condition, but maybe even in the nervous system. A lot of people just don't get on with a lot of volume and velocity and dynamic. And somehow our model of legitimate spirituality and religion has to celebrate everyone, has to have room for everyone, to have room for themselves without themselves having to feel bad about how they find themselves to be stimulated spiritually or culturally. We have to find some way to look with fondness at people's differences. It's also true that when people are younger, their nervous systems are often, not everybody, this is sort of on an 80-20. A lot of times, people that are younger, a higher percentage of the younger generation is going to appreciate rapid change and a lot of novelty. They're not wanting to get in a rut. As people get more set in their ways and their brain trims more and more of the connections to get them into a life pattern and actually takes away glial cells and neurons themselves in a pruning process, people end up figuring out how they're comfortable with life, and then it's more stressful the older you get to have a lot of big change. So somehow, a mature, whether you're 10 years old or you're 110, and you can still have a mature appreciation of people that see things differently than you do. You can still embrace people that even love things that you hate. You know, there's a lot of kinds of music that just take a rap to my eyeballs. You know, I just can't stand to have to listen to it. But I know with my head that some of the stuff I like would do that to others. It's not all age related. I listen to some things that people say, how can you stand it? I love distorted heavy metal electric guitar. I cannot get enough of that. I just love Yngwie Malmsteen, Steve Vai. I just cannot get enough of it. Just burn the tubes of your amp and rip the paper and the speakers kind of distorted guitar. I love that. And I love Baroque, rock, and I love Vivaldi. But a lot of people get a lot out of like the show tunes from the black and white movie era. They love this music, to listen to the music track from Sound of Music. I'd rather get a tetanus shot, in the side of my head. I can't stand that stuff that was written sort of, well, quick, we've got a deadline, we better throw some sappy words in there. Can't stand it. But there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's stupid, but it's not really stupid. It's just my culture.
Could you go over the 3 fingers within real quick for session 2?
And it'll give us good context to move into what we're going to bridge into today. First of all, what are the 3 fingers? I find a lot of highly religious people that I will refer to as sort of religionists. I find a high percentage of religionists they're tempted to get in a rut where they point fingers at others, and their religion falls into the gutter of failing some religious progress. The more you notice how bad people are living and being that are outside of their way of doing religion. The non-Adventists, the Gentiles, if you were a Jew, the non-Christians, the heathens, the rank atheists, whatever it is, you see their difficulties and how they don't measure up and they point. And I think it's such a common dynamic. It's not limited to religion either. I mean, people do this with their stupid ball teams that they root for, They do it with style, they do it with racial stuff, they do it with culture from one neighborhood to the next, in the same city. So it's just how people do. I know martial artists do it when they criticize other people's art. Being a long-time jiu-jitsu student, I hear a lot of people who do what are referred to as stand-up striking arts. Whether there's a lot of hand strikes or there are a lot of like taekwondo foot strikes. A lot of stand-up artists say, "Oh yeah, it's not how all you do is like roll around on the mat. That's not strong." Then people say, you could do all the karate, all the Shotokan, all the taekwondo you want, but every fight yields to gravity and then it goes to the mat. So if you don't do jiu-jitsu, you don't know anything. You're going to lose. Ultimately, you're going to get schooled. And they point how stupid everyone or weak everyone else is when they, and for the most part, there's always some truth. It's not necessary that you're always wrong when you say, hey, that kind of person has a particular struggle with this. That might be true. They might. I mean, if you're a non-drinker and you look at people that are drinking, that are jerking their life up all the time, hurting other people and giving themselves bizarre cancers, it is profoundly stupid. But that's not doing any good for the non-drinker to just be pulling like that, and it's not helping anybody who's a drinker to have that finger of judgment and smugness pointed. It's not helping. It's not spiritual to do that. It's anti-spiritual. Tears down the person pointing, tears down the person being pointed at. But when you're pointing, whenever you've got your hand out in this fashion, there are 3 fingers pointing back at you. Now, traditionally, that 3 fingers pointing back at you meant you got 3 problems of your own for every one you're pointing out at someone else. Yes. But to make it more positive, I say, you know what? Let's attach to those 3 fingers 3 solid things you can do right now that will help you and help everybody. They're legitimate spirituality. So when you get that illegitimate spirituality going, take a look and when you're going to point, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you. And they can remind you of 3, what could I be doing? One, I could be working on transforming my very awareness part of my consciousness, that voice that never shuts up in my head. I could convert that to where it is a ceaseless prayer. Then I would be praying without ceasing. In fact, Ellen White said, that is how Enoch walked with God. I didn't make this up. She didn't make it up. She said that when Enoch walked with God, it said, and Enoch walked with God, a number of years after the son was born. And then he just wasn't. He wasn't there anymore. Because God just took him. He just blended into a different dimension. He blended right out of this dimension. He just walked into not just heaven on earth. He walked into being in that realm exclusively by converting his consciousness to an absolute unbroken prayer. And that's all the thought he had. He wasn't crazy talking to himself all the time, which gets you where? To just talk to yourself constantly. Give yourself great wisdom. Oh, tell me something I don't know. Okay, how about this? Now I'm enlightened. You can't do that to yourself. It's silliness. So that's one finger.
I'll let you finish. I was curious about that now.
Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get this. We're coming to that. 2, the second finger that's pointing, and I don't think it matters what order it's in. I think that the order it's in depends on where you find yourself. Different people will find a different entry point in this. You could say, I'm not there. I can't. I just can't do that. Fine. Do one of the other 2 to start. That's fine. Start at any of them. Or start on all. However you function best, experiment with. For a month, I'm going to try all 3 things. Try them all cold. Do a cold turkey. The second thing is, and I know people go, oh, it's ridiculous. It isn't ridiculous. It would make you bizarrely equipped for an unusual spiritual life. Flat out, cold, fully memorize Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Even genealogy, beget this, beget that, beget him, beget her. The full meal deal. Flat memorize it. And anyone who says, well, that's too much to memorize, you have more crap than that you memorize, and you will keep memorizing more stuff that you'll never forget. Why not, just once, just let it be part of what you have in your memory, the most important words ever penned. Either they are or they aren't. And if they're not, then please bring with honesty, with some sort of sense, bring your life into alignment with that. If they're not the most important ones ever can, then go with that and see where that leads. And quit playing games. I don't know how you can sort of dabble in the Jesus thing. Put a little layer of Jesus, put a little layer of Nietzsche, put a little layer of... It doesn't work like that. Jesus doesn't have that kind of room in what he says for just sort of being a module or a little component in the big circuit board. It is, I mean, he was, because of the things that it is claimed, he claimed, if he's not what he claimed, he's a psycho. He needed a therapist. He needed to be medicated or something. He was nuts if he really did claim those things, if they weren't true. So, having a little, dialing it down a little with him is, I don't know what to do with that. It's irrational, stupid. That's 2. Flat memorize it. And 3 is that thing that Jesus did with the rich young ruler in Mark 10. Where, as we went over it in length, exploring, and that, by the way, is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not that valuable, the things that I say about how you can know things about other people. You can reflect on that. In fact, by the way, that's an incredibly important thing you could dedicate a year of Sabbaths to doing. Trying to figure out, you can write them in your journal, try to figure out everything you could that you pretty much can know is going to be true, no matter who it is you're talking to. What are all those? It's not only that people want to avoid suffering and hurt and pain, and they want to turn that down, and that they want to have good feelings. You can know that. But there's so much more than that. I gave just some examples, like everybody can think of their most hurtful memory, and they've thought about it today. Check in with people and see if that's true. People that will let you have that intimacy with them in conversation. Check it out. But don't stop just knowing that. And not only that, everybody, just like you and me, knows about the time that they hurt somebody and they feel like the biggest jerk for having done it. Whether you should have been there for somebody, just like you were just not enough. You just couldn't inconvenience yourself when someone really needed you. Or you did something that was really hurtful. You crushed somebody. You laughed at somebody when they needed you to cry or to just be understanding, or you make fun of them, you mouth them bad in front of other people. Whatever it is. You might have physically hurt someone. You might have actually abused somebody. I mean, in every sense, you might have done that. Well, you're in good company. Look around the world and realize, yeah, most people, I don't know, everybody has abused other people. So you're not special in that regard, but you have fellowship with everyone in that regard. So that's just one more way. There's an infinite number, probably, of things that are identical between us, all of us. You can know that. You can be a student of the commonalities of the human psyche. And then, every person you look at, in a fraction of a second, that whole awareness just becomes part of, I know, that stuff that's true about us all. All that stuff that I know. And every year I know more. Every week I know more. About you. And about you and about me. And so when I look at you, I can say, I know this all is true for you. And I love you. And you say it inside. Occasionally, not very often really, fortunately. Occasionally though, you're going to have encounters with people that you can actually say it straight up. There's situations where it doesn't seem psycho or makes people scared for you to do it. There's appropriate places to just articulate that, and then to just say, I love you. Those are few and far between, but when they come up, don't let them pass. Get it out. But don't be a psycho. Don't make everyone want to think they need to keep the kids away from you and stuff. Make sure they're not alone when you're there. That's not a spiritual thing, that's just for judgment. Those three things. And those three things, don't stop with those three. Find 3 better ones. Find 30 better ones. Let me know when you find it, because I want to practice those 2. There's an infinite number of these, but experiment. Conduct experiments with those things. Kelly, you asked about what's on the board. I'm going to say that if you memorize that, I would give you extra credit on the final. I'm not sure about the midterm. We'll see. I might put it on the midterm, but I wouldn't deduct any points. Oh yeah, the midterm's going to be Friday.
Oh.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, Monday.
It's all right.
I mean, yes, the school said it was on Wednesday. I know.
We should be taking home.
It's only a take home.
I think there's another class that meets here on Fridays after this one. I think that there's an empty room here in the queue. Is that right? There's no class that meets here. On Mondays and Wednesdays, the homiletics course is in here at 10 o'clock. But on Friday, if it takes you a few minutes extra, I don't have an appointment. So that's the reason I was kind of favoring it, because I'm used to classes that go for 1.5 or 2 class periods at a time. I don't like that 50 minutes and you get set up and it's time to go. You have to be all, I don't like that mechanical. I like to ease into it, and I'm going to do that even if it was a 30-minute class period. But I would feel better when we had something that covers that much material if you were not rushed. If you didn't have a feeling of being rushed. I know some of you have 10 o'clock classes on Friday. I understand that. But it benefits as much as it can. So I think Friday for the midterm.
You were saying about that though.
Right. If you want that, you want an extra credit option?
No, you're saying if you memorize.
Yes.
So I was
Yeah,
going
I'm not going to deduct anything if you don't memorize this.
So me too.
Not now or on the final. It's not going to be something where I'll say you mark it wrong, but I'll make it extra credit.
Is it going to be possible to finish the test in that time period if we do have a class period after?
Yeah.
Because you say
I hope
like
so.
you have a lot of content.
Oh no, I'm not making it twice as long.
Yeah.
It's just that there's a few people, literally every class I've ever taught, there's like 2 or 3 people, and then there's one, and they're going, doggone it, because but they don't have like a special, they need extra time for them with the TLC or anything. They were working on one thing, and the time got away from it, and it's not a race, so I just feel bad here, but no, it's not going to be 100 questions. The final might be. I got 2 hours for the final, and I have given finals with more than 100 questions.
So is this real cover going to be like everything? Because we're going to be moving the test back and back.
No, not the reading.
Okay.
The lecture, I keep adding lecture stuff.
Okay, so
But not the reading. Where it says on your course outline,
midterm, that's what
midterm, the reading up to that point is all the reading I would consider put on that. Fair enough?
Yeah, that's fair.
Now, should I give you, if there is a quiz today or Wednesday, if there's a quiz either of those days, that could be material from later chapters, but then it wouldn't be on the midterm. Does that make sense?
I think a caution in my friend right here asked me a good question.
And then you get
Yeah.
you are so on it.
Hey, you're a real one.
Wow. Everyone, see how this accountability works? Yes. Says, I want one of those. Can I have one of those? No, that's just because I have such poor writing habits that I can't tell the difference in writing between capital and non. So there's no case issue, but there's only 3 punctuation marks. Those are part of it. Just a second, everybody listen.
Are you gonna check the difference for midterm question box we closed on campus?
Are we going to check the box that would be, oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, and you ought to also, because I'll buy some of those to put on there. There's some I've already seen that I'm going to put.
So what's the doubt box for the question?
When you write the exam.
So are you gonna grab questions from the quizzes and then the question?
I am not going to grab any questions from the quizzes. I'm going to use every single question you've ever seen on a quiz. I promise you that every one of them will be on the midterm. And what? The discussion questions on, yes. Where people put like stuff for me to buy. If I buy it, I'm going to say right there, I bought this. This is going to be on the list. No surprise.
If you buy a semester based on multiple questions, do we get a first dollar per question that you buy, or is it like?
Per question. Per question.
When are we gonna buy do the buying of the books? Like, when are you gonna sell the books and stuff?
Oh, I don't know.
Do you think that could be anytime soon?
Have you ever
We
sold
get towards the end. What?
Have you ever sold
No.
Never.
No, I don't. I don't want, that's not for sale. Yeah, it would be an option.
You'd be like, oh, why not? I'm putting up 5.
Right, and then sometimes they get to ridiculous amounts. Do you want to hear that? Okay, let's start out by reading. Doing that is not doing this. Being there is not being here. Living then is not living now. There's no magic hidden meaning. It is just what it is what it is. We mentioned one other time, probably 3 weeks ago or more, we mentioned one other time what happens when we're with somebody and then we're fooling with our phone instead of being with that person. If we're with that person, the one that we're fooling with the phone talking to or whatever, or Facebooking or Snapchatting or anything else, if we were with them, instead we'd be fooling with our phone, not into them, Snapchatting the person we're not with, but wouldn't be them. In other words, wherever I am, I don't want to be there. No matter. It's a special formula. You take reality and plug it into the variable in that function. And it always plots out to any variable you put into what is current and real is exactly what you're not happy with. Exactly what leaves me sad and bored. One aspect of spirituality is to practice being present where you actually are and who you actually are and what I actually have, not what I don't have. To practice being present. The 10th commandment is not a little add-on because it needed to add up to something that was a better number to end on. 10 seems complete. We don't really mean it when we say the 10 Commandments. I mean, seriously, how many people are stressing on the filthy sinfulness of violating the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet? How many people are going, I'm so nasty. I'm just nasty. I violate the 10th commandment. I feel dirty. I feel like I'm devastated. I'm such a loser. I'm such a wretch because I violate the 10th commandment. Because I keep wanting stuff I don't have. I'm not satisfied. Oh, you filthy sinner. Stone you. Did you ever read in the Old Testament even about anybody being stoned for violating the 10th one? That's less interesting. I mean, murder makes a good novel or a good suspense movie or whatever, chainsaws and the whole thing. Oh, cool, that's a killing. Oh, there's a killing in Calistoga. These details, some details. That's exciting. Oh, there was a murder. I'm tired of, I gotta figure out how to shut off all of this ridiculously anti-spiritual pop-up, notify me everything on the phone or the computer. I'm trying to bing! Oh, trending in the news. Sonoma State University. Okay, I'll bite. Oh, they found a body buried in a shallow grave. They just did. I mean, that's really true. They really just found some poor guy was stabbed a bunch of times and buried right by the parking lot in the wilderness area. People were in San Jose. Wow, that's exciting. Check that out. Why? Why is that exciting? We love that. That's entertainment. Now, if you find out somebody has been into the wrong bed, depending on who they are, that's interesting. You don't know them. Please promise me that you don't call celebrities by their first name, because that's pitiful, sappy thing to do. They don't know you, they don't like you. Don't pretend that you have a relationship with those people. That's sick. And it makes me feel sad for you when you do that. You do better than that. Because that's pitiful. I mean, we don't have the right word for how ridiculous that is to do that. Don't do that stuff.
Isn't that like very judgmental?
It is. It's extremely.
That is bothering me. Sorry.
You should be bothered by it. Especially if you do it.
I mean, because headlines have their names. So, that's how you just, when you speak or something that's you're just going based on what.
I got a bizarre suggestion. Bail on the news. The news is nothing but a carefully, psychologically crafted manipulation and gossip. It's not factual. It's horse manure. And we're filling our minds with that. And the thought that we should abandon it is man, I wouldn't be informed. We're as resistant to abandoning that load of nonsense that hurts us every day, day in, day out, as we are resistant to the suggestion to memorize the gospel. It's the same part of us that sort of gets all practical about it, and let's get realistic. Realistic is almost antithetical to some of the incredible spiritual potential that could be in our lives. Realism is so often a synonym for pessimism. We've talked about Romans 7, right at the end of Romans 7. Paul says, look, I agree that the law whole thing, the commandments, all that you're supposed to do this, and you're not supposed to do these other things. Don't do those. I'm not disagreeing with that. I know that's right. I should be doing that. We all should be doing that. I'm on board with it. Now let me tell you about another law. That would be the law in my body parts. And it has a different law going. Here's how that law goes. Here's the actual law where I live in me. Here's my day. Here's my week. Yeah, that's right. I always say, I'm never going to do that again. That's out. It's bad for me. It's degrading. It's stupid. It's non-productive. It's. And I'm not doing it. Now here's the law. That's exactly what I'm going to do when the chance comes up to do it. And here's the second half of the law of how it is to live in this body. I say, I'm going to start doing this. Oh yes, I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. Oh yes. Oh yes, I'm going to eat 100 grams of clean protein. I'm going to eat 5 servings of vegetables, and I'm going to stop looking at nasty stuff on the computer and all that. Gonna do it, gonna not. That doesn't matter. When I resolve what I'm gonna do good stuff instead, and I'm always gonna know. Here's the way the law works. That's exactly what I'm actually not gonna do. So, yeah, that's a good law. The commandments and everything, those are all good. But then here's another law that I can't break. It's like gravity. Here's a gravity kind of law. Here's a nature law. And I'm in nature. And then at the end of chapter 7, Romans, this is the last very statement in chapter 7, Paul says, so who's going to deliver me from this death trap body that I'm in? He throws his hands up. Like, well then what the heck? And then in the first statement in chapter 8, he says, but thanks be to God that He given us the victory through the Lord Jesus Christ. The book that at least a few of you are reading, I hope. That's not even all. Should be good. This book. Here's some stuff from that book. It's the square. There's a square page, like in square brackets. There's an alternate paging section because this is sort of a special version of it where they paged it differently and put the words differently. But in the square brackets, this would start on page 47. I don't know what that corresponds to in the paper. Many are inquiring, how am I to make the surrender of myself to God? You desire to give yourself to Him, but you are weak in moral power, in slavery to doubt, and controlled by habits of your life of sin. Your promises and resolutions are like ropes of sand. Does it sound like Paul's extra laws? Your promises are like ropes of sand. Resolution. Now, do you ever make a resolution and then you bail on it when it comes? My thing is always with I'm not going to eat anything after, say, 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever. That's the deal. Because when I put the feed bag on, as soon as it's dark, this other guy, this other Robert Kurtz, maybe has a different middle name or something, comes in and possesses me and cleans the fridge. I mean, like a giant funnel-shaped vacuum mouth, sucking everything out of not even bothering to cook it. Oatmeal, I wouldn't even put it in the bowl and I would eat it like a horse. I am kidding you not. If it's made, it's gone. If it's not made, I'll eat the ingredients without even taking time to cook. And then I'll start cooking and have to eat everything that I cook.
It's kind of like that saying that it's like we always do what we don't want to do, and don't do what we want to do.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Our resolutions are like ropes of sand. And I say, every day, I'm gonna eat a late lunch and I'm done. I will drink water after that. I'll chew some gum, but you a sugar-free gum. Not a calorie is going in this pie hole after that time. And then what happens? What happens as soon as it's dark? The fool comes in, has an agenda, and eats again. Like that.
Then what's the solution?
That's a good question. That's a good question. The knowledge of your broken promises and forfeited pledges weakens your confidence in your own sincerity and causes you to feel that God can't accept you, but you need not despair. What you need to understand is the true force of the will. The true force of the will. This is the governing power of the nature of man, the power of decision or of choice. You're a psychology major, right? You're going to play head finding a psychologist today or a neuroscientist who believes that you have freedom of will. Volition is believed in modern culture to be illusory. Free will is actually seen as you don't really have it. Because people insist that everything about the mind operates on a timeline, like a physics experiment. And we can measure that decisions are made. We can see the neurocorrelates of decisions getting made. Measurable time before we experience, oh yes, this is my decision. It happens somewhere other, it appears. Because we could not accept that something that we do now when we decide send something back in time to line things up so we can execute it in real time when we make the decision. We have so much faith in Newtonian physics that we can't possibly imagine that there is a real realm beyond the space-time continuum. That's why it seems like silly fairy tales for intellectual people today to actually think there's anything to this religious mumbo-jumbo. But it turns out that's a sophomore achievement of intellect. That the truly breakout intellects have one eyebrow raised saying, yeah, but we don't really know that about time. And we don't know that about consciousness. And that's a big stretch, and if you admit it, they'll never publish you in anything that's peer reviewed. You'll be blackballed. If you just once say it in public, you're done. You're not in the club. You're not in the fraternity or sorority of scholarly discussion. Oh, that's funny how that works. What you need to understand is the true force of the will. This is the governing power in the nature of man, the power of decision or of choice. Everything. Now, this is such a testable statement. The exact words are so testable. Teachers to students who will be taking tests, this is so testable. Everything depends on the right action of the will. Everything depends on the right action of the will. Adventists do not observe Lent. Because that seems Catholic or something. But that doesn't mean that the value of taking your will to the gym, the gym for the will, getting a workout for the will, like saying, I'm going to take something that I actually really like having. It doesn't have to be something bad for you, just something that you really feel driven to have, and you say, not this month. Because I'm the boss, it's not. My lizard brain does not sit in the CEO's chair. It's in the front part here, not down here in the limbic system, not down here in the basal ganglia, in up here. We run the program, this part of this here, we run the program. So I decide, so I'm gonna have none of this for this month. When I was 10 and became an Adventist and heard this statement read to me in 5th grade in worship, I made a decision that I was going to exercise my will so I didn't have to live like that, so that I could make my choices in this life like really most people can. By getting up, turning the shower on cold as it would get, with no touching the hot water side, getting in there, and starting with the pits, and then letting it go on the back. And I determined that I was even going to control my breathing while I did it. I wasn't going to shake around and dance. I was going to stand there and just say, I'm going to observe this process, but I'm not going to let my body be taken over like a nut. And I have practiced that since 1972. Oh, and I found some other things too. We'll talk more about it on Wednesday. Have a wonderful day.
It's not going to be ready.